Welcome to the majestic world of Sheikh Hamdan's devoted fans. This is your premier destination for the latest scoops, updates, and insights into the captivating life of Sheikh Hamdan and the intriguing dynamics of the royal family. We're thrilled to share a special treat with you today. Sheikh Hamdan recently unveiled a poignant poem on his social media platforms, offering a rare glimpse into his heart and soul. And now, we're delighted to present to you the exclusive English translation of this heartfelt masterpiece. Today, I breathe a sigh of relief, my heart overflowing with gratitude. The weight that once threatened to crush me has finally been lifted. My dad, the one person whose approval I craved, has finally accepted my love. For what felt like an eternity, I navigated a minefield of disapproval, my father's skeptical gaze and harsh words piercing my soul like 1,000 daggers. Every conversation, every argument, felt like a battle for validation, a desperate attempt to prove that my love was real, that it wouldn't fade with time. But the struggle has finally come to an end. Today, my dad looked at me with new eyes, eyes that saw the love I share with my partner, eyes that understood that this wasn't just a phase, but a fundamental part of who I am. The relief is palpable, the sense of vindication is overwhelming. The silence was deafening, a chasm of disapproval that seemed insurmountable. My father's refusal to even acknowledge her existence was a dagger to my heart, a painful reminder that he had already condemned our love. No matter how fervently I pleaded, no matter how hard I tried to showcase the beauty of our relationship, he remained resolute in his opposition. The weight of his disapproval was crushing, a relentless barrage of doubts and fears that threatened to extinguish the flame of our love. I began to wonder if this was what love was supposed to be, a constant, exhausting battle to prove our worth to the world. The fatigue was palpable, the uncertainty suffocating. Yet, every time I gazed into her eyes, I knew that surrender was not an option. The tipping point arrived unexpectedly, a moment of seismic shift that altered the landscape of our struggle. Perhaps it was my unwavering resolve, or her unshakable devotion. Maybe, just maybe, my father finally grew weary of the war he had waged against us. Whatever the reason, the outcome was nothing short of miraculous. Today, he sat across from me, his expression softened, his eyes filled with a newfound understanding. And then, in a moment that will forever be etched in my memory, he spoke the words I never thought I'd hear. If she makes you happy, then that's all that matters. In that instant, the battle was over. The years of resistance, the struggles, the tears, all led to this moment of triumph, this moment of unconditional love and acceptance. In that instant, love triumphed over doubt, and I felt the weight of the world lifting off my shoulders. I sat there, frozen in awe, as his words echoed in my mind like a sweet melody. If she makes you happy, then that's all that matters. The moment I had dreamed of, prayed for, and fought for had finally arrived, and I was speechless. I had braced myself for another battle, another lecture, another disappointment. But instead, I saw something in his eyes that I had never seen before: acceptance. It was as if the storm had finally subsided, and the sun was shining through the clouds. The struggle that had brought us to this moment was far from easy, but it was worth it. I thought back to the countless nights I had spent trying to change his mind, the endless arguments, the days of silence, and the moments of despair. But I had never given up. I had held on to hope, and I had fought for the love that I knew was real. And now, in this moment, it had all paid off. The journey had been long and arduous, but the destination was sweet victory. The question swirled in my mind like a tantalizing puzzle. What had sparked the change of heart? Had he witnessed something in her that had escaped his notice before? Had he finally grasped that his opposition only strengthened our resolve? Or had he simply grown weary of resisting the inevitable? Whatever the reason, one thing was certain: for the first time, he wasn't standing in our way. As I reached for my phone, my hands trembled with anticipation. This was the moment we'd been waiting for, the culmination of all our hopes and dreams. I dialed her number, my heartbeat pounding in my ears like a drum. She'd been a rock, a steadfast companion through the darkest of times. Now, I could finally give her the news she'd been longing to hear. The silence on the other end was fleeting, but it felt like an eternity. Then, her voice, soft and barely audible, spoke the words that would change everything. He did? I whispered my confirmation, my throat constricting with emotion. It's over. We don't have to fight anymore. The weight that had pressed upon us for so long was finally lifting, like a dawn breaking over the horizon. For the first time, we could breathe, our love unfettered by the shadows of disapproval. The wall that had divided us was crumbling, its rubble clearing a path for us to walk together, hand in hand, without fear of judgment or rejection. We were free to love, to be, to exist, together, and unapologetically. Her reaction was a symphony of emotions, a beautiful melody that filled my heart with joy. I had expected tears, a cathartic release of all the pent-up emotions she had harbored for so long. But instead, she laughed, a radiant, infectious sound that spoke of relief, of joy, of liberation. "We did it," she exclaimed, her voice barely above a whisper. And in that moment, I felt the weight of the world lift off my shoulders. As I turned back to my father, I saw him in a new light. For so long, he had been the adversary, the obstacle that stood in the way of my happiness. But today, he was just my father, a man who had finally found the courage to accept me for who I am. The tension that had once hung in the air like a challenge was gone, replaced by a sense of peace, of understanding. In the silence that followed, something profound passed between us, a silent acknowledgement that the battle was over, that the war had been won. It was a moment of surrender, of release, of newfound freedom. I had never thought I'd see the day when my father would look at me without the weight of disapproval hanging between us. But here we were, sitting across from each other. No more walls, no more anger, just the quiet understanding that something had shifted, something fundamental. He had let go of his resistance, and in doing so, he had given me a gift of acceptance, of love, of freedom. It was a new beginning, a fresh start, a chance for us to start anew, to build a relationship founded on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. The air was thick with anticipation as I waited for his response. For what felt like an eternity, we simply sat there, the only sound the quiet hum of unspoken emotions. It was a moment of suspended time, a pause that held the weight of years of longing. As I stood before her, I felt an overwhelming sense of joy and liberation. For the first time, I could share the news of my father's acceptance with the person who matters most. I had driven to her place, eager to witness her reaction firsthand. As she opened the door, her eyes sparkled with curiosity, and I couldn't help but smile. "What happened?" she asked, her voice laced with anticipation. I savored the moment, letting the words hang in the air before responding. "He finally accepted us." The silence that followed was palpable, as if time itself had paused to acknowledge the magnitude of this moment. Then, without a word, she flung her arms around me, holding me close as if she never wanted to let go. I felt her emotions wash over me, relief, happiness, and a hint of disbelief. In that instant, I realized that this victory wasn't just mine, it was ours, a testament to the love and resilience that had carried us through the darkest of times. As we stood there, basking in the warmth of this moment, I felt the weight of our struggles slowly lifting. The uncertainty that had once shrouded our future was gone, replaced by a sense of clarity and purpose. We no longer had to prove ourselves, we could simply live, free from the burden of doubt and fear. Returning home that evening, I was met with an unexpected sense of peace. The tension that had once defined our relationship was gone, replaced by a sense of understanding and acceptance. As I walked through the door, I felt a sense of belonging, of being exactly where I was meant to be. As I stepped into the room, I was enveloped in a sense of serenity. The air was alive with a newfound lightness, as if the weight of unspoken words had been lifted. My father's gaze met mine, and for the first time, I saw only warmth and acceptance there. No judgment, no disappointment, just a deep understanding. "She's a remarkable woman," he said, his voice filled with conviction. I felt a sense of validation wash over me, as if his words had given me permission to exhale. "She is," I replied, the simplicity of the statement speaking volumes. For the first time, we didn't need to argue, to defend our love. The silence between us was no longer heavy with tension, but rather filled with a sense of mutual understanding. My father finally saw her for who she truly was, the love of my life, my partner, my everything. As I gazed up at the starry sky later that night, I felt a sense of hope and renewal. It was as if a new chapter had begun, one where love was no longer a source of conflict, but a beacon of joy. The fight was over, and love had emerged victorious. I was struck by the unfamiliarity of this sense of peace. For so long, I had been trapped in a cycle of doubt and fear, constantly seeking validation for my love. But now, I was free to walk forward with her, without hesitation, without doubt. The world felt full of possibilities, and I knew that our love would flourish in this newfound freedom. With my father's blessing, the landscape of our lives has shifted. The battles we had fought, the wars we had waged, were now a distant memory. In their place, a new era of peace and possibility had dawned. Our first family dinner together was a celebration of this newfound harmony. As we gathered around the table, I couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. The same table that had once been a battleground, a symbol of our struggles, was now a place of laughter and connection. My father, my love, and I, we were no longer adversaries, but a family, united in our love and acceptance of one another. The atmosphere was palpably different, the air thick with a sense of belonging. My father's eyes, once clouded with doubt and disapproval, now shone with warmth and welcome. As he offered her more food, his gesture was more than just a polite offer, it was an olive branch, a symbol of his newfound acceptance. Her smile, radiant and unguarded, was a testament to the power of love and forgiveness. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It was a moment of profound beauty, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always the possibility for redemption, always the chance for love to triumph over adversity. That fleeting instant was a watershed moment for me, a testament to the transformative power of love and acceptance. For the first time, I felt unshackled from the weight of doubt and disapproval. No more stolen glances over my shoulder, no more bracing myself for the next argument. I was finally free to simply be, to exist in harmony with the people I loved. As we strolled hand in hand through the evening air, she turned to me with a soft smile. "I feel like I can finally breathe," she whispered, her eyes shining with relief. I gazed back at her, drinking in the beauty of her unguarded happiness. She had been my rock, my safe haven, my soulmate. And now, we could finally bask in the warmth of our love, unencumbered by the shadows of doubt and fear. The silence between us was no longer a heavy, oppressive thing. Instead, it was a comfortable, peaceful silence, the kind that spoke of deep understanding and mutual respect. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to justify my choices, to defend my happiness. My father's acceptance had given me the greatest gift of all, the freedom to love without fear of judgment or rejection. As I watched my father engage with her, I saw a new side of him, a side that was genuine, kind, and truly interested in getting to know her. He asked her about her passions, her dreams, and her heart's desires. And she responded with ease, her guard finally down, her spirit soaring. This was the moment I had been praying for, the moment when love and acceptance would conquer all, and we could finally begin our new life together. In that instant, she transcended her role as my partner, becoming a person my father was finally willing to acknowledge and appreciate. The veil of misunderstanding had lifted, and he saw her for who she truly was, a kind, compassionate, and strong individual who loved me unconditionally. As I reflected on our journey, I realized that the struggles we had faced were not in vain. The heated debates, the sleepless nights, and the moments of crippling doubt had all been worth it. For a long time, I had feared that I would be forced to make an impossible choice, to sacrifice either my relationship with my father or my love for her. But now, that fear had dissipated, replaced by a sense of liberation and joy. My father's parting words, "Take care of him," were a poignant reminder that he had finally found peace with our relationship. This was not merely a grudging acceptance, it was a genuine acknowledgement of our love. I felt a surge of emotion as I grasped her hand, holding it tightly as if to never let it go. We had weathered the storms, and our love had emerged stronger, more resilient, and more radiant than ever. In the end, love had triumphed over doubt, fear, and uncertainty. And as we walked away from that moment, hand in hand, I knew that nothing else mattered. We had found our happily ever after, and we were ready to embark on the next chapter of our journey together.